Welcome back, everyone. I'm sure you know how this works, but if you're new, before we continue the story, please pause the video and go watch the previous episodes of this series, since you might get lost if you're not caught up. The link to the series playlist will be down in the description below. And now with that said, let's begin. Chapter 23. Anything and Everything. I am sorry, Mr. Von Croft. The Azure Flute is not for sale, the curator of Chabanais Castle says with a heavy annoyance in his voice. Lucius nods and lets a chuckle slip from his lips. Sir, with the business I have been in, anything can be bought. I will say this once more. I am willing to pay anything for the Azure Flute. Millions. Name the price and I'll pay it. The persistence in his voice borders on hostile, which the curator hears. And I will say it again. It is not for sale. Now please leave, Mr. Von Croft. Good day. The curator says, slamming his hand on the desk and stands. Lucius's hand closes around the Pokeball in his jacket. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I will not leave without the Azure Flute. His voice has gone to a dark place now. The curator looks at Lucius. If you do not leave, I will be calling the authorities. Now go! A sneer crosses across Lucius's lips. He stands to his feet and pulls out the Pokeball he has been gripping. The curator sees the purple Pokeball engraved with a gold H for horizon and size. I have been alive longer than you, Von Croft. You cannot intimidate me with a Pokemon. Oh, you think this is to intimidate you? Lucius opens the ball and his green Mewtwo emerges next to him. This isn't intimidation. I told you, I am not leaving without that flute. I've had enough of this, the curator says and picks up the phone sitting on his desk. Mewtwo, psychic. The shiny Mewtwo raises its hands and a glowing blue light surrounds the curator. The power lifts him into the air and squeezes him, shattering the bones in his arms. He tries to scream out, but the psychic energy prevents that. With a smirk on his face, Lucius calmly walks over to the glass case protecting the Azure Flute. He tries to open the case only to find it locked. He acts without thinking and smashes the glass, sending shards into the base of his hand. He reaches down with blood dripping from his hands and grips the purple flute created from a meteorite. His hands tremble, finally holding what he has been lusting after for so long. Mewtwo grunts, drawing his attention. Oh yes, him. Kill him, Lucius says, waving his hand dismissively. The Mewtwo nods and twists its hand. The curator continues to let out a muted scream as blood begins to trickle from his eyes, his ears, and his nose. Mewtwo closes his hands, twisting the man's body until he goes limp in the air. The glow of the psychic power fades and the curator lands with a thump. Lucius looks down at the growing pool of blood and smiles. I told him I wouldn't be leaving without the flute, he says, looking back to his Mewtwo. The Pokemon turns his head and points back to the body. What to do with the body? Lucius questions. Mewtwo nods. Send him to the sun for all I care. Just remove the body and make sure it will never be found. It looks down at the broken man's body and with glowing eyes teleports it and the pool of blood away, never to be seen again. Good. Now let's return to the Golden Horizon before anyone notices he's gone. He returns his Pokemon to its ball and walks out of the castle with the Azure Flute in his hands, and a dark grin across his face. The Golden Horizon's horn blares announcing its departure from Coumarine City Port just as the sun touches the horizon. Its speed picks up, and before they know it, Kalos is behind them, and Sinnoh is a short, weak journey away. Dante sits next to his freshly evolved Torterra. He looks at him in pure amazement, never really getting to appreciate his evolution when it happened. You've grown so much, Dante says, cradling Torterra's head. We finally got to go on that journey. About 10 years late. Torterra twists his head and nudges Dante with affection. I know. Better late than never. All that stuff with Golurk took your thunder, she says, placing a hand on his nose. Torterra lets out a noise that seems almost to be a laugh. It was a very eventful day, Dante says, smiling at Violet. It was, she says, returning the smile. Lucius joins them on the deck and smiles, seeing them all together. He walks over to Torterra and places his hand on its shell. This is amazing, he says, looking at the Pokemon. He is very healthy. Just look at the tree on his back, so lush. Be proud of yourself, Dante. You raised this Pokemon well. Thank you, Lucius. Dante notices the bandages on Lucius's hand and questions it. Ah, yes, I wanted to celebrate getting the azure flute. Poured myself a drink in the limo and my driver hit a bump. And I dropped the glass and it shattered. He lies smoothly and looks at his hand. And, well, I was foolish and went to pick it up and, well, I ended up earning some stitches. So you did end up getting the flute. How much did that set you back? Violet questions, her voice neutral of emotion. Lucius chuckles, thinking back to the brutal murder he committed to get this azure treasure. More than I'm willing to admit, my dear. Violet doesn't respond, both hating that pet name he keeps calling her and the fact he actually got his way. Will dinner be ready soon? Dante questions. We never got to eat today with everything that happened with Golurk. Yes, dinner will be ready shortly, Lucius says, a bit of laughter still in his voice. I hope to hear the full tale about how you caught that titan. Lucius pats Torterra once more and returns to the yacht's interior. Violet watches him leave and shakes her head. She looks up at Dante, who is only focused on his Pokémon. She wants to scream and beat it into his head how dangerous Lucius is, but she fears he will never see the truth until it hits him over his own head. Once dinner is ready, everyone heads into the dining room of the Golden Horizon. There they are served a very fine meal, starting with a soup made from rare mushrooms from every region. While they work on the first course of their meal, Dante retells his epic tale of taking on the Titan of Kalos. He tells it true, though he embellishes on some parts. Lucius wipes his mouth with the cloth napkin on his lap. If you didn't actually catch the Golurk, no one would believe that story. I can't wait till we get back to land so I can see it for myself. Oh, I'll be showing it off so you may get sick of seeing it, Dante says, feeling prouder by the minute over catching his newest Pokémon. I highly doubt I will. The next course is brought out, prime-cut toro steak cooked rare with grilled vegetables. Dante is thrilled to finally taste this dish since his mother doesn't believe in the eating of Pokémon. Only having eaten meat with his father on special occasions, he eats the steak slowly, enjoying each bite. After that course is finished, Lucius excuses himself from the table with the excuse of having to make preparations for an upcoming mission. They didn't need to ask about it. They knew he was talking about the flute. Dessert is brought out and presented to Dante and Violet, but both have too much on their minds now. One is plagued with fear while the other is filled with anticipation. I'm going to head to bed early. You can have mine if you want, Dante, Violet says with a shaky voice. Dante stands and catches her before she can leave and pulls her into an embrace. I know when something's wrong, Vi. Talk to me, he says soothingly. She wants to beg him to believe Lucius is a bad man, but she knows he won't listen. It's nothing, Dante. I just need some sleep after today. We were up way too early. She reaches up to kiss him but hesitates. In that split moment, a tinge of fear pulses through her, the fear of losing Dante. She swallows the fear and kisses him with a passion. Once Violet leaves and heads to her room, Dante sits at the table in a solemn solitude. He looks down at the two tiramisus sitting at the table. He eats his and then Violet's and can't help feel the loneliness of his situation. No Pokémon, no Violet, no Lucius. Just the loneliness of the sound of the ocean. He decides it would be best if he heads to bed as well and leaves the table for the staff to clean. He passes Lucius' office and notices the door is ajar. He knocks on the door and waits. It's open, Lucius says from the other side, his voice bogged down with heavy thought. Dante pushes the door open and enters. He sees Lucius sitting next to his desk and his Mewtwo looking out the window. Ah, Dante, it's good to see you. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your meal, he says, looking up from a pile of paperwork. It was good, Dante says, and Lucius can hear the trouble in his voice. Lucius studies him and calls him over to his desk. This might cheer you up. It's a gift for you, actually. Dante moves to the desk and looks down at the pile of paper. Lucius opens up a file and turns it towards Dante so he can see it. He looks down at the designs for an exosuit for a Kabutops. He flips through the pages, seeing how it's a mimic of Genesect. I had this created from the schematics Team Plasma had for Genesect. They were fools. They created a cyborg from a fossil, instead of putting an armor on a Pokémon, Lucius says, pointing to the features of the armor. This is why you were interested in getting my Kabuto to evolve back in Pastoria, Dante questions. I admit, I did have this in mind when helping you, but I didn't think we would be working together with this. Lucius turns and opens the safe behind him. He turns back with the azure flute in his hands. He hands it over to Dante and he takes it with caution. He looks at the pearlescent purple color of the flute in complete awe. He runs his thumbs across the mouthpiece and then the holes. "This is amazing," he says in a hushed voice. "To hold an artifact this old, with what it's connected with, you can almost feel the power in it." "You see this the same way I do, then? I am pleased we are of like mind. That is why I want you to use the Genesect armor with your Kabutops. We will need all the power to take on Arceus. I need everything in order to do this. Can I count on you to give me that?" Lucius says with an almost pleading tone. "Yes, I'll do it. I want to see this through. I want to help catch Arceus," Dante says with a dark and disturbing zeal. And that is the end of Chapter 23. Please leave feedback and your thoughts in the comments below. It helps me grow and change the story so it doesn't turn into something you don't want to listen to. The dark bond he has formed with Lucius is danger for everyone. Has Dante gone too far down the rabbit hole? If you enjoyed this video, please share this series around so others may enjoy it as well, and leave a like so I know you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter for updates on anything and everything Pokemon, as well as when all my videos go live. The link is down in the descriptions below. And as always, has been Black Phoenix. Thanks for watching.